r/NoSleep. I'm playing a game called Whisper, and the rules are deadly. It started with a sound, soft, almost imperceptible, like someone gently exhaling against the nape of my neck. I heard it for the first time late at night as I was finishing some work on my laptop. Whisper. The sound was so faint, I thought it was my imagination. But then it came again, clearer this time. Whisper. I turned around, but my apartment was empty. I laughed nervously, shaking my head. Just the stress, I thought. A trick of a tired mind. I went to bed, forgetting about it until the next day when things escalated. My best friends, Lily and Ethan, came over for game night. We'd planned a simple evening of card games and snacks, but it didn't go as planned. As we sat around my coffee table, my phone buzzed. The notification was strange. It wasn't from any app I had installed. Welcome to Whisper. Click to accept. I showed it to Lily and Ethan, half joking about how my phone must have caught a virus. Click it. Ethan grinned. Worst case, we're all doomed. Or your phone explodes, Lily said, rolling her eyes. I'm not clicking it, I said. But as I went to swipe it away, the screen glitched. Without me touching anything, the notification opened. The screen went black, and a line of text appeared in crimson letters. Whisper is listening. Say the words to begin. What words? Lily asked, leaning closer. As if in answer, my phone speaker hissed and the same soft voice from last night murmured. Whisper. Nope, I'm out. Lily stood, grabbing her bag. Wait, Ethan said, holding her arm. This is creepy, yeah, but what if it's just some ARG or viral marketing stunt? We should play along, see where it goes. Despite her protests, I was curious too. So, I said it. Whisper. The screen flickered, and a timer appeared, counting down from 48 hours 0 minutes 0 seconds. Beneath it were 3 names. Fiona, Ethan, Lily. Okay, how does it know my name? Lily asked, her voice shaking. That's just weird, I admitted. It's probably pulling info from social media or something. Maybe, Ethan said, though his face had lost its usual confidence. A new message popped up on the screen. Task 1, retrieve the token from your neighbor's house. You have 24 hours. Reward, $500. Failure, penalty applied. What token? I asked aloud. Another message followed immediately. The key to survival is in the whisper. Listen. That's when we heard it, the faintest sound of something metallic hitting the ground. It was coming from my front door. Ethan opened it cautiously to find a small, old-fashioned key lying on the doormat. Attached to it was a note. Begin. We debated for hours whether we should go through with it. Lily wanted nothing to do with it, Ethan was too intrigued to back down, and I was caught in the middle. Finally, curiosity, or maybe fear of the unknown penalty, won out. That night, the 3 of us crept next door. My neighbor, Mr. Greaves, was a grumpy old man who rarely left his house. Using the key, we let ourselves in, feeling like criminals. The house was dark and cold, filled with a stench of mildew. It didn't take long to find the token, a small, black box with the word Whisper engraved on it. But just as Ethan picked it up, the lights flickered, and we heard footsteps above us. Run, Lily hissed. We bolted back to my apartment, slamming the door behind us. My phone buzzed the moment we locked it. Task 1 complete. Reward deposited. Checking my bank account, I saw $500 sitting there. It was real. That night, none of us could sleep. Every sound felt amplified, creaks, whispers, the ticking of the clock. Task 2, leave the token in room 14 at the Crimson Inn. Reward, $2,000. Failure, penalty applied. It seemed simple enough. But the Crimson Inn was infamous in our town, a derelict building said to be haunted. People whispered about disappearances, strange noises, and shadows that moved on their own. Still, $2,000 was tempting, and none of us wanted to know what penalty meant. We arrived at the inn just before midnight. The air was thick with decay, and the front door creaked loudly as we stepped inside. Room 14 was at the end of a long, dim hallway. Each step we took echoed unnaturally. The shadows on the walls seemed to twitch and grow. When we reached the door, Lily hesitated. I don't like this, she whispered. Let's just leave the box and go, I said, pushing open the door. The room was empty, save for a single chair in the center and a mirror on the far wall. As Ethan placed the token on the chair, the mirror fogged up, and words appeared. "One must stay." "No. No way," Lily said, backing out of the room. "We don't have a choice," Ethan said. "One of us has to stay, or we all get the penalty." Before we could argue further, the door slammed shut. Ethan and I were on the outside, Lily inside. She screamed, pounding on the door as we tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. Then everything went silent. When the door finally opened, the room was empty. Lily was gone. We drove home in silence, too shaken to speak. My phone buzzed as we pulled into my driveway. Task 2 complete. Reward deposited. Ethan checked his account. The money was there, but neither of us cared. Task 3, deliver the token to the Whisperer. Reward, freedom. Failure, all penalties applied. The instructions led us to the woods outside town. With every step, the whispers grew louder, surrounding us, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Finally, we reached a clearing. A figure stood in the center, draped in shadow. Its face was obscured, but its voice was unmistakable. "Whisper." Ethan handed over the token, trembling. The figure tilted its head, as if considering us. Then it spoke. "One must stay." Ethan turned to me, eyes wide with fear. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Before I could react, he shoved me toward the figure and ran. The Whisperer's face emerged from the shadows, smiling, unnatural, inhuman. I never saw Ethan again. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I hear whispers in the dark. And I know the game isn't over. Remember this: if you hear a whisper, don't listen. Don't say the words. But if you do, you'd better play by the rules. The figure loomed closer, its face twisting into an unsettling smile. I couldn't move, paralyzed not by fear but by an unnatural force holding me in place. My heart pounded in my chest as it reached for me, its fingers unnaturally long and claw-like. The whispering grew deafening, overlapping voices chanting my name, repeating the same word over and over. Whisper. 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 I don't remember much after that. When I woke up, I was lying on the forest floor, alone. The clearing was empty, and the whispers had stopped. My phone was gone, along with the token, and so was Ethan. For a moment, I thought maybe the game was over, that I'd been spared. But when I stood, I realized something was terribly wrong. There were marks on my arms, tiny, spiraling symbols etched into my skin. They pulsed faintly, as though alive, and no amount of scrubbing would make them fade. When I returned home, the apartment felt cold and foreign, as if I no longer belonged there. The air was thick with the faint smell of mildew, and the shadows in the corners seemed darker, deeper. I couldn't stop hearing whispers, faint and persistent, just at the edge of perception. I tried to call Ethan, but his number was disconnected. I checked Lily's apartment, hoping somehow she'd made it back, but it was empty. Days turned into weeks, and the game was silent. No new tasks, no penalties, just the unrelenting whispers and the marks on my arms, which now glowed faintly in the dark. I started to believe it might actually be over. Then the letter arrived. It was slipped under my door, written in a delicate, looping script. Congratulations, Fiona. You've advanced to the next stage. Follow the instructions carefully, or the penalties will resume. Beneath the note was a list. Stage 2 rules. 1. Do not speak after sunset. 2. Always leave an offering outside your door at midnight. 3. Trust no one, not even yourself. At first, I thought it was a cruel joke. But when I ignored the rules on the first night, I learned how real it was. I was sitting in my living room, trying to distract myself with a movie, when I felt it. The air grew heavy, the temperature dropping rapidly. My breath came out in visible puffs. The whispers returned, louder than ever, echoing in my head. Then I saw it. A figure stood in the corner of the room, its face obscured by a black hood. It didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, watching. My phone vibrated violently on the table. When I picked it up, the screen displayed a single word. Penalty. The lights flickered, and the figure took a step forward. I screamed, bolting for the door, but the moment I touched the handle, the world went black. When I woke up, I was lying in my bed, my arms burning. The spiraling marks had spread, covering my shoulders and neck. A new note was on my bedside table. Break the rules again, and the penalties will worsen. I started following the rules religiously. Every night at sunset, I sealed my lips shut, no matter how much I wanted to scream or cry. At midnight, I left offerings outside my door, coins, trinkets, food. I had no idea if it was enough, but the whispers seemed satisfied. The third rule was the hardest. Trust no one, not even yourself. I didn't understand what it meant until I caught my reflection in the mirror one morning. At first, it seemed normal, tired eyes, disheveled hair, but then it smiled. I wasn't smiling. The reflection moved on its own, pressing a finger to its lips as if to shush me. From that moment, I covered every mirror in my apartment. Weeks passed, and the game grew more demanding. New tasks appeared, each more horrifying than the last. One night, I was instructed to retrieve a box from the attic of an abandoned house across town. Another time, I was told to leave an anonymous envelope at a stranger's door. Each task felt like a test, pushing me closer to some unseen edge. The penalties grew worse if I hesitated, a constant reminder that I wasn't free. And then came stage 3. I woke up to find another letter on my bedside table. Final stage. You are no longer the prey. Complete this stage, and you will be free. Fail, and you will take my place. Beneath the note was a small, ornate dagger. The handle was covered in the same spiraling symbols that marked my skin. The instructions were simple. Find Ethan. End the game. It took weeks of searching, but I finally found him. He was living in an old motel on the outskirts of town, his room covered in strange symbols and scraps of paper. He looked terrible, thin, pale, his eyes hollow. I knew you'd come, he said, his voice hoarse. You left me, I said, gripping the dagger tightly. You don't understand, he whispered. I didn't choose this. It's the only way to survive. What are you talking about? He gestured to the walls, covered in frantically scrawled notes. The game isn't just for us. It's for them. They're watching. They're always watching. Before I could ask who they were, the whispers returned, louder than ever. The air grew heavy, and the room filled with an unnatural darkness. Ethan's face twisted in fear. They're here. You have to do it, Fiona. End the game. I hesitated, the dagger trembling in my hand. I don't want to die, he said, tears streaming down his face. But it's you or me. That's how it works. The whispers grew deafening, and the shadows closed in. My grip tightened. I'm sorry, I whispered, plunging the dagger into his chest. The whispers stopped. The shadows receded, and the air felt lighter. I expected to feel relief, but all I felt was emptiness. As Ethan's body crumpled to the floor, a new note appeared in his hand. Congratulations. You're free. But I wasn't. I returned home, hoping the nightmare was over. But every night, I still hear whispers. Every night, I feel eyes watching me from the darkness. I don't know who or what is behind the game, but I know one thing. The game never really ends. And now, it's my turn to play the role of the whisperer. So if you hear a whisper in the dark, don't answer. Don't say the word. Because if you do, you're already mine.